This is the Fantasy Football 411 podcast. The best place to get the latest 411 on your fantasy football team. Here are your hosts, Alex and Amanda.
Here we are for another episode of the Fantasy Football 411 podcast. This is the best place to get the latest 411 for your fantasy team. We are your hosts.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Alex. And in this episode, we're going to give you the Week 10 recap, some of the biggest things that happened. Also, we're going to get into some Week 11 waivers for you to pick up for Week 11. And we're going to close this episode out with the Week 11 matchups. Let's get right into it.
Odell Beckham Jr. is officially on the Rams and is active tonight.
Right, because there was some little story that came out that Robert Woods got injured in practice on Friday and tore his ACL. Like, it's kind of sketchy. I think it actually happened to make them want to get Beckham. I think it happened before he got there, but that's just my guess. It's too coincidental. I just don't believe it. But either way, he's starting in place of Robert Woods tonight. Probably not going to factor in too much. Obviously, we're saying tonight because we're recording this before the Rams face off against the San Francisco 49ers. But OBJ will get some points. If you have OBJ on your team, I think he gains more value now on the Rams. What would you say?
Yeah, I was reading, at least for tonight, that he'll definitely be playing, but don't expect much because it's not like he knows all the playbook.
Right.
So he'll probably be in there kind of way down there just for those.
But good for you for Van Jefferson owners.
Yeah, I was getting a little sad that I was going to have to drop him, but I did not. So I will be playing Van Jefferson tonight. See how he does.
So that's good. So Van Jefferson owners do take a hit with this, though. Once OBJ starts playing a little bit, I think he's going to get more targets than Robert Woods did. But I don't think that Van Jefferson's going to completely disappear, which I thought he was if Robert Woods was still in there with OBJ and Cooper Kupp. So that's a plus side. You can hold on to Van Jefferson, I think. But other than that, pretty exciting to see him there. I mean, LA fits him. I think it fits his diva mentality. But the second piece of news, DK Metcalf got ejected this past week. He grabbed a player by the helmet and then did it again. And then he actually ended up going off the field and then came back into the huddle. I don't know if he didn't realize he got ejected or whatever, but either way, he's out. Not facing a suspension at this point. I just heard he might get fined. So stay tuned on that if you're a DK Metcalf owner. I felt like this was a good piece of news.
As you know, the Lions and the Steelers tied. So apparently Najee Harris did not know you could tie in the NFL. So
at the post-game press conference, he stated that he didn't realize in the NFL that there could be tie scores because in college, you play until you win or lose or whatever. But yeah, so that's cute. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. That was the latest news for Week 10. Let's get into some fun stats.
QB Patrick Mahomes, he went 35 for 50 for 406 yards and 5 touchdowns. Boy came back.
He came back. He definitely
came back.
Yeah, he came back. He definitely came back because no one saw that coming by how he's been playing. Obviously Patrick Mahomes is totally capable of that, so that's no shocker. But as he's been playing, it is kind of a shocker. Another one that's same type of situation is wide receiver Stefan Diggs. Now, with Emmanuel Sanders there, he's been factored in a lot, but now this past week against the Jets, unfortunately it was against the Jets, but we saw kind of last year's Stefan Diggs, which is 8 for 162 and a touchdown. So that was pretty cool to see as well.
And wide receiver Justin Jefferson, he was 9 for 143.
Similar, yeah, he just didn't get the touchdown. The biggest injuries of Week 10 worth noting, running back Aaron Jones sprained his MCL. He will miss 1 to 2 weeks, so it's not too crazy. Just try to get A.J. Dillon if he's out on waivers. We'll get into that, but it's not as serious as it could be.
And QB Baker Mayfield exited with a minor knee injury.
Which I think was more so because they were losing so bad. I think I heard that he could have came back in and played, and he didn't. But
makes sense.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really be too worried about that.
He's got a lot going on. He still has a shoulder issue.
I know.
So.
It's so fragile. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb left with an arm contusion, but he seemed to be fine. I mean, post-game press conference, he was smiling. He didn't have a brace on his arm or anything. I think he's fine.
And DE Chase Young tore his ACL.
It's very sad for the Washington defense. He was the most exciting defensive player they had there. They just came with a victory against Tampa Bay. It's unfortunate. Really sad to hear, especially with an ACL. Tight end Ricky Seals-Jones exited early with a hip injury.
And another tight end, Dallas Goedert, he left the game with a concussion.
So that's pretty much it for your Week 10 recap. Let's get into some waivers. So starting out with who's cold, running back Deontay Foreman outsnapped both Peterson and McNichols, but I'm still not ready to invest in this backfield until it seems to be narrowed down to just one again. It's just a three-headed monster I'm not messing around with. And I think McNichols might have got injured as well too. Worth checking out, but in the outsnapped portion, I think he had like 11 carries versus them, so it's not anything crazy.
Wide receiver Marcus Johnson caught 5 for 6 and 100 yards without Julio there. Could be worth pickup.
Yeah, we need to see more on him. I mean, these are cold pickups for this reason. You know, you could throw any fab you want at these guys if you truly believe in them, but this is just saying temper your expectations if you do. Quarterback Cam Newton is back. So that's worth noting. If you need a quarterback, he's fun to play on certain weeks. I don't think he's going to be anything, crazy. I'd rather have like a Carson Wentz to play weekly than a Cam Newton just because it's risky at this point. But I think players like Robbie Anderson will be pretty excited to see Cam back. He seemed it this past week, especially in the post-game press. But yeah, so he's back in Carolina, and you can pick him up on waivers if he's there.
Wide receiver Traquan Smith was about 100 yards in the last 2 games.
So that's worth noting. Depending on who's QB moving forward there, that's why I put him in the cold. I feel like if Taysom Hill was steady in there and we could just know what we're going to get each week in and out, Traquan would be a good pickup, but for that reason, he's in the cold segment. Who's hot?
As we mentioned before, Aaron Jones is out for about 1 to 2 weeks, so his backup is A.J. Dillon. I think he got like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
2 touchdowns. Well,
yeah, he was really
Aaron
good, super efficient.
Yeah, and I mean he's been playing pretty steadily even when Aaron Jones is in, so he's definitely a pickup if he's available.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon, he's one you dump the bank on just because it is towards the end of the season now. He is a league winner. If you need 2 more wins or whatever, I mean, Aaron Jones could come back in 2 games. We don't know if it's definitely going to happen. I mean, Aaron Jones owners over here do wish it does happen. And I mean, if I were one too, we'd hope we could believe what we hear. But you never know with these kind of things. I mean, look at McCaffrey. We didn't know when he was coming back. And just so you know, I'm going to point this out now. McCaffrey did go into the medical tent in the game, and everybody was pointing at his hamstring, saying it got re-injured. It actually wasn't his hamstring. A spotter noticed a head, like he hit his head or something, so they were just checking for concussion. So no red alert there. But A.J. Dillon is one, I'd say 30 to 50% of your fab if you need a running back, and he's on waivers. Otherwise, do try to trade for him if you need him. But just obviously in that case, don't take a loss in the trade. Running back Ramandra Stevenson seems to be the running back to go to until Damian Harris returns. Downside to that is Damian Harris is probably coming back next week. So after running 100 yards and catching 4 for 5 for 2 touchdowns, he has proven to be the serviceable back in an unpredictable backfield. But Damian Harris is there. It's going to stir it up a lot. I think when Damian Harris doesn't play, Ramandre is the way to go in New England. But until we figure out what's going on there, you're not going to dump too much. But if he is on waivers this week, I'd be putting down 20-30% for him. You agree with that one?
Yeah. It just sucks because Damian Harris is expected to be back. So you don't want to throw too much money and then,
right.
Then you're out. So, yeah, I would just temper your expectations on that one.
All right, let's get into the Week 11 matchups.
Are we sure on these bye weeks?
Yeah, I double-checked to make sure this week. If you were listening last week, Week 10, there was actually 4 teams on bye. On the podcast, on the audio version, we said 2 teams, but if you watch the video version, I made a correction on there with all 4 teams. This week, it's actually 2 teams. I double-checked, 2 different sites. They both said the same thing. So go ahead, say who it is.
So we have the Broncos and the Rams have a bye week.
And the first game on the docket is Thursday Night Football with the New England Patriots against the Falcons. The over-under on that is 46.5. I'm going over on that.
Yeah, I chose the under. I don't know. I just don't see this one.
The reason why I went over on it is because it seems like consistently now for the past few weeks, Mac Jones has been able to bring a score up pretty high, and I think the Falcons aren't a great defense. I think they're a decent offense. He can get the ball around. He could put up a fight against the Patriots. So I could see the score going high in this one. The only downside, though, I'm a Cordero Patterson owner. I didn't realize, I thought they took him out of the game because the score was so high against them that they didn't want to injure him. That's what I heard at first. Turns out he's actually dealing with a little bit of an injury. So he might not even play in Thursday night. So that kind of hurts for Patterson owners. But I still think the score is going to be high for that reason, just because of Mac Jones being, as accurate as he's been, and the Falcons having the weapons that they do.
The Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles with a 43.5 over and under, and we both went under.
Yeah, I think play both sides, and it's just I think the score will get up there because they're capable of doing it. I mean, look what the Eagles did last week in Week 9. But, yeah. I definitely think under on that one. I don't think it's going to get as high as 43.5. The Dolphins at the Jets. Now, we did the same thing this week with the Jets. The over-under is 44.5. Now, usually with the Jets, you're under all the time. It's always going to be under. They're never going to get over certain anything. But every time I go under, I never get it right. But then I go over, I get it right. So I'm actually wearing the invisible crown this week for over-unders. I beat her like 4-1. It was pretty good, pretty victorious. I'm feeling it this week as well. So over on this one for that reason.
So excited to have his invisible crown.
Whatever, I'll take it. But either way, the Dolphins and Jets, I think they're going to be fighting each other. They're very similar in many different ways. Dolphins defense is a lot better, obviously, but I just think that they're both teams that are working on improving in so many different ways with young players. So 44.5. I'm going over. You're going under.
Under. Yeah. To be expected. Washington football team at the Carolina Panthers with a 43.5 over and under, and I went on the over, and you went on the under.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I think they're definitely 2 teams capable of bringing the score up, but now you're looking at, the biggest defensive weapon that the Washington football team has. And the Carolina Panthers, I don't know if Stefan Gilmore came back in. So they got hit with it. So it's tough to say that that's going to get ran up that much. We have to see more of Cam Newton, who I hope is starting for the Carolina Panthers. I could see this going over. I see why you picked over, but I'm just, going on the safe side, going under on that. The Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills, over under on that is 49.5. We're both going over on that. Pretty obvious reasons. They're both high-scoring teams, high-powered teams. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a good game.
And we have the Detroit Lions at the Cleveland Browns with a 44.5 over and under, and we both went under.
Yeah. The opposite reason of the last one.
Yeah.
They're not exciting teams.
I know. The Browns, they look so good at the beginning of the season.
Well, they are a good team, and they're a good defense, too. Like, defensive line-wise, I mean, Myles Garrett is a beast. But, like, now you got bummed up Baker, Yeah. He's all banged up Baker, I should say. No OBJ. So you do have some talented wide receivers there still. But for some reason, they just can't deliver. each week. They couldn't even put up a fight with the Patriots, which I thought they would have had. But yeah, I definitely think they're going to win this one against the Lions because it's the Lions. It's pretty much a bye week anytime you play them, unless you're the Steelers. But 44.5, I just don't see it going that high. It just doesn't seem like that exciting of a game. The San Francisco 49ers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The over-under on that is 46.5. I'm going over on that, and I'm only going over because originally I was thinking of going under. Mm-hmm. I was like, nope, this is a trap game. So, something's going to happen here. It's going to go over than that. It's going to be exciting. So I went for it. Gut feeling, no logic behind this one. Obviously, you could play both sides, though. 49ers, great defense. Jacksonville can show up when they want to, but I think you're safe.
Yeah, I chose the under.
Yeah, probably because it's not exciting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The Jags against the 49ers, it just doesn't seem like a
high-scoring game.
Yeah. The Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans, 45.5 over and under, and I chose the over on this one.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I went under just because the Texans are part of the equation.
Yeah.
But I could totally see it. I mean, they do score points, when they want to, so I could see it. I wish I had more logic to go with these assumptions, but really, this is just based on instinct and what we've seen in these past weeks. So, yeah, I'd have to go take the under on this one, but I totally understand where you're coming from. Green Bay Packers face the Minnesota Vikings, 48.5 over under. I'm going under on this one, but only because I feel like it's another trap game. Like, logic sits here and tells me, like, oh, no, it's going to be high scoring. Look at him. Aaron Rodgers is going to be angry after this past week because he played so poorly. Miami's same reason. But Miami's looking at this as a division rival, so they're going to want to run up the score too. I think the score could totally be over 48.5. I just think both defenses are going to be battling each other to keep it low. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it's a divisional game, right?
Right.
So I feel like they're going to be just slinging that ball around.
Yeah.
That's what them kids say these days. They slinging that ball around.
Them kids do say that. Yep.
The Ravens at the Chicago Bears with a 45.5 over and under, and we both chose the under.
Yeah, another one. I see the Ravens winning it. I just don't see it being a high scoring game, just because Chicago has a lot of work to do. Cincinnati Bengals at the Las Vegas Raiders. We both went under on this one. But I feel like this is a trap game too. I feel like this could be a high scoring game. Both of these teams can have shootout potential. So I could see this being a high one, but I'm going under just based on what I've seen the Raiders do against Kansas City this past week. And I do think the Bengals take the win on that.
The Cardinals against the Seattle Seahawks with a 50.5 over and under, and I went under. Went under. Yeah,
I'm going over. Just because of the weapons. I think Hopkins should be back. Kyler should be back. I think they're going to win, but I think Russell Wilson's finger should be feeling a little bit better. Now that he's got one game down, he should be able to play. I mean, this is what I'm hoping here. If this is the case and you hear good things about Russell Wilson's finger, it's going to be over. But otherwise, if those things don't pan out, I could totally see where you're coming from with the under. The Dallas Cowboys are at Kansas City, facing the Chiefs, 54.5 over under. This one's totally a trap game. We both went over on it, but I feel like this is the one that we should have probably went under on it because it seems like it's definitely going to go over.
Yeah, I'm excited about this game. I think it's going to be a good game, and I think it's at like the 4.
Oh, and the afternoon games. Yeah. No, it should be really exciting.
We have the Steelers at the Los Angeles Chargers with a 47.5 over and under, and we both took the under.
Your QB Herbie, he's not doing too well.
Well, he did well last week.
But he's just been hit or miss.
Yeah.
And the Steelers just tied the Lions, so I just don't see the score going that high. I mean, I think Chargers win it, and I think Justin Herbert could have a great game again against the Steelers, obviously, especially if what's his name, TJ Watt is actually out, because he got injured on defense for the Steelers. So it could it's easily going to go to the Chargers, I think, to win, but I just don't see it going higher than 47.5.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And the final Monday night game of Week 11 is the New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The over-under on that is 49.5. I'm going over on this because the Giants do have potential. Tampa Bay's angry that Washington just beat them, so they want to win this one, especially against New York. But I think this one's going to be over 49.5.
Yeah, I chose the under. I just don't think the Giants are going to have much going on. So
no, I can see that too. So that's pretty much it. This was definitely one of the quicker episodes, but we're trying to wrap this up here to get to watch the Rams and 49ers game because we recorded this before that. So bear with us. Let us know what you think so far. Let us know how we can help you. I hope you have taken a thing or two from each episode of this podcast. We appreciate you listening. Follow us on all socials at FanFootball411.
That's a wrap on Week 10. We'll see you Week 11. Good luck.